we're going to reach the world out there, are you guys listening this morning? It's good. We need to learn to speak Jesus. Because he's a language, isn't he? And that's what I've been doing. Man, I'm running to people, and because of their religion, and they see me, and they're, oh, you're a preacher. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a preacher. And they'll go, oh, I'm not a bad person, and whatever. And I'm like, no, you let me speak Jesus to you. And look, this is really cool. We'll stop here. Hebrews 1, 2, and 3. I wrote down in my Bible, this is the language that God, see, when Jesus came, it was God saying, I'm going to speak to you in Jesus. How many get what I'm saying? I'm going to speak to you in Jesus. I'm going to send Jesus to the earth, and I'm going to declare who I really am through my son, Jesus Christ. Nobody's seen me. Nobody knows me, but I'm going to clear up my name right now, and when you see Jesus, you see me. How he treats people is how I treat people. How he thinks is how I think. How he does things is how I do things. How he loves is how I love. And look at this. It says, God, who in various times, talking about in the Old Testament, at various times and in various ways spoke in times past to the fathers by the prophets. So how many know at one time God spoke by the prophets? Okay? And then it says in verse 2, has in these last days. Now listen, let me just give you some more bad theology. Everybody say last days. I got saved in 1976. Guess what the first thing I heard in 1976? It's the last days. There's still people preaching it. There's still people hammering it home. These are last days. These are last days. These are last days. And I believed it. But let me just help you out. You can get mad at me if you want. And I could be wrong. But you ready? Take a deep breath. Some people ain't going like this. This is not the last days. It's not the last days. Well, that's how I always used to believe, Vern. But the last days, listen, this was written, when was Hebrews written? Well, let me help you out. 2,000 years ago. So when were the last days? 2,000 years ago. Last days of what? The age of the law. Moses brought the law, but I'm bringing truth and grace. So we think it's the last days, the world's going to like some kind of, like, listen, I'm really going to mess with your theology. And that's okay. We can talk about it later. And I'm out of time, too. It's always terrible when we're out of time. But listen to me. I don't believe there is an end to the world. Did you hear me? There's an end of the age. So when we thought the Bible said it's the end of the world, it didn't say the end of the world. It said the end of the age. The end of the age of what? The law. Jesus came to fulfill the law and bring the end of the age of the sacrificial system to an end so that we can get on to Jesus. Amen? And the finished work of the cross and the new and living way. And so when you hear somebody say last days, last days, last days, I'm like, well, if the last days were 2,000 years ago, and see, it wasn't the last days like the end of the world. It was the last days of the age of the law. And that makes absolute sense. That's why he was talking about 70 A.D. when the temple came down in 70 A.D. And it's crazy that this was written in 64 A.D., most scholars believe. Right before the fall of Jerusalem and the fall of the temple was literally torn down. Not one stone was left upon the other. And he's talking about, like, these are the last days. And listen, when it comes to the rapture, and I don't have time, but I'll do a whole study. I have a whole different mindset. I have a victorious eschatology. And what I mean by eschatology is, eschatology means end times. And I can show you by putting a time text, even on Matthew 24, where we got the great tribulation, and if you're up on your rooftop, woe to you that are pregnant. See, we're still talking about that. And that was not even nothing to do with us. That was for those before 70 A.D. And it says, those of you in Judea. I live in Independence, Kansas. I ain't been up on my rooftop for a while. And what I'm saying is, it doesn't even make sense. And the Great Tribulation was not something in our future. I personally believe it was the 70 AD. 1.2 million Jews were slaughtered in 70 AD. There were so many dead people, kids, that soldiers. Josephus, the historian, said that the Roman soldiers were climbing over dead bodies and kids, and they were slaying children. And there were crosses. 1.2. Jesus said this is going to be a time like it's never been before or will never be again. And he tried to warn him. He said, listen, woe to you pregnant, flee. See, you can't, to bring that into our age is crazy. It doesn't even fit. You can't do it. And yet we did it. That's why I was cut my teeth on the rapture. It scared the hell out of me. And the first thing they did, they showed us the movie, The Thief in the Night. You ever seen The Thief in the Night? And the people getting the mark of the beast, getting their heads cut off, and and it's like, then you got like these. It was scary. Like you talk about fear, and see, perfect love casts out all fear. But I got to finish. Look at verse. But in these last days, okay. See, he's not talking about today. He's talking about back then, the last days of the law, the last days of the era of the temple and the sacrificial system. That makes sense? Not the last days of the world. And in these last days, he has spoken to us by his Son. Everybody say, the language of God is the language of his Son.